Hello, my fellow readers. I am Diahann Brown Lawton from Go On Girl Book Club with another book review, Lightseekers by Femi Kayode. Copyright date 2021. Femi Kayode studied clinical psychology during his undergraduate years at the University of Abanda and worked in advertising for over 20 years. Before embarking on a career of becoming a novelist, his writing credits include several award-winning works for Prime TV and the stage. Mr. Kayode was the winner of the 2019 Little Brown Via Crime Fiction Award. He lives in Windhoek, Namibia, with his wife and 2 sons. This is Mr. Kayode's debut novel. Now, before I start the review, let me state this. Move over John Grisham and James Patterson. A new author is in town. Nigerian author Femi Kayode. Personally, I am not a fan of psychological thrillers because they are either too technical, too detailed, or just violent. But Lightseekers? This book had everything: suspense, mystery, of course violence, and most importantly, outstanding character development. This thriller is loosely based off of a horrible tragedy, Olua 4, which took place several years ago in the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria. 4 male undergrads were brutally murdered, the necklace killings, in front of villagers of this community. The author heard about this brutal murder, which haunted him. What sets this crime apart from others, it was recorded and viewed from the World Wide Web. Mr. Kayode had so many questions about this horrible incident. Why did this happen? Why would the community accept this murder and allow it to be viewed on the web? This began the author's journey into writing this thriller. Lightseekers is arranged in 3 acts. Each act is given a title. Act 1, light reflects in several directions when it bounces off a barrier. Act 2, light waves reflecting off of a parabolic barrier will converge at a focal point. Act 3, light waves change direction when they pass from one medium to another. Our protagonist, Dr. Philip Tewo, is an academic, an investigative psychologist, and married with twin sons. Philip and his wife, Falake Tewo, law professor at the University of Lagos, leave the United States after many years to return to their home in Lagos, Nigeria. Dr. Tewo was asked by his father to help solve a case of the execution of the Owiki 3. 3 Nigerian students were murdered in the town of Owiki. One of the students, Kevin Emeke, came from a prominent family. His father, Chiameke Emeke, managing director of the 3rd largest national bank of Nigeria, knew of Dr. Philip Tewo's work. Dr. Tewo completed his thesis at the University of California. His papers, The Strange Fruit, Understanding the Psychology of Lynch Mobs in the South, and the second half of this thesis, Strange Harvest, How Crowds Get Away with Murder. Mr. Emeke wants Dr. Tewo to solve this crime or get to the truth of his son's death, even though this crime apparently was solved 2 years prior. Philip refuses the request at first. His explanation to Mr. Emeke: he specializes at uncovering motivations, explaining a crime, and making sure that the investigation of a crime is unbiased towards the innocent while being ethically fair to the guilty. He is not a police officer or a detective. What Philip doesn't understand is that Mr. Emeke and Philip's father have an allegiance to each other. The two went to the same university and started a political club in the 1960s. So Philip must respect this request. Philip arrives in Lagos to connect to another flight that would arrive in Port Harcourt. On the plane, he meets a beautiful ebony sister with immaculate fingernails. Her name, Solomon. Attorney Solomon Briggs. Unknown to Dr. Taiwo, Solomon is familiar with his history. She's hired to defend the murderers that brutalized the Riki Three. Upon Philip's arrival in Port Harcourt, he is introduced to his driver, his sidekick, Chica. Yet Chica is not who he appears to be. His skills are very valuable to solving this case, and Philip relies on his intuition. As for the town of Oriki, this township used to have one of the top 3 universities in Nigeria. Students from far and near attended this prosperous institution. The town of Oriki grew and established itself on the map. Yet, something was slowly changing. With wealth comes greed. The fraternities were becoming more violent. Cults were dominating the male population, and the darkness of drug use was seeping through the life force of Oriki. Also, the Nigerian government was becoming more militant, and the oil distribution was changing hands. So the monies coming into Oriki was drying up. This affected the student population, and the trickle-down effect was inevitable. Plus, religious warfare was shattering the infrastructure, Christians against Muslims and vice versa. Philip and Chica must figure out how these events caused the necklace killings of the Oriki Three. The 3 students? Winston Babachinda Cocker, 20 years old, 3rd year sociology student. Boba Cosmo Alistair, 24 years old, reputation for being a hail-raiser. And Kevin Namamwandi, 3rd year law student, and the son of Mr. Emeke. Philip and Chica meet resistance when they start their investigation. The townspeople are suspicious. Doors are closed in their faces until they meet Chief Kinakanawo Omareji. He's the chief of the Oriki. This elder hears and sees everything. For this investigation to move forward, Philip must speak to the chief urgently. They eventually meet, for Philip must receive an oral history of Oriki to understand the people of this township. The chief speaks about the land. No matter the hardship, the colonization, the new laws, renaming and the changing of languages, our land belongs to us. When the colonizers left, the Biafra War began, tribe against tribe, and the land redistribution tore the infrastructure apart. How do you heal from this? From this conversation, Philip and Chica had to approach the investigation from a different perspective. Yet, they still had so many people to investigate and to question their stories. Who is telling the truth? Will this investigation threaten the lives of Philip and Chica? How is Solomon involved? And is managing director Ambike, the father of one of the Eureka Three, hiding important information to the case? To enhance my reading of Lightseekers, I created a playlist. Musical Nigerian artist Fela Kunti, Fema Kunti, King Sunny Ace, female vocalist Similasila, and Babatunde Alantunji. My rating for this thriller, 4.8. Lightseekers by Femi Kayode. Until the next time, happy reading.